2 months ago, we discussed the potential for One Nation to overtake the coalition and gain mainstream support, following a substantial decline of the Liberal Party. And since then, One Nation has surged in the polls at levels that almost match the coalition, making what may be its entrance into mainstream politics. The rise has put to bed a range of political commentators and is quietly reframing how the political landscape operates. So, today we're going to be talking about One Nation's long anticipated and somewhat surprising rise, what this means for Australia, and where things might be heading to next. Immediately getting things out of the way, One Nation's latest polling figures, which, according to DemosAU, sees the party at 23% primary vote support, on par with that of the coalition, and 11 points ahead of the Greens. The data released last week suggests One Nation has obtained a record swing of 17% since the election, and either the death of the two party system or at least a tightening of it. It also revealed that 1 in 3 past coalition voters have now switched to One Nation. This trend also being confirmed in a prior Demos AU MRP poll in 2025. The results suggest that during the 2025 election, over 88% of people who voted for One Nation did so on primary votes alone. Comparing this to Labor's 77%, the Greens on 82%, and the coalition at a low of 59%. This shows that One Nation is able to instill strong party support, while the coalition has seen theirs collapse, largely relying on preference votes in many contests. A second poll was then distributed by so-called Fox and Hedgehog, where One Nation obtained 21% of primaries, with data put forward by the pollster suggesting the party is peeling off votes not just from the coalition, but Labor as well, identifying a similar trend occurring in the UK, where Reform Party is pulling votes from both the Conservatives and Tories. Seat modelling based on these polls suggests the party could win up to 20 seats, seeing major parties making overall net losses, with the largest gains in New South Wales, Queensland, and South Australia. However, members of the left have argued both pollsters have small sample sets and extrapolated data to apply nationwide. While the Hunter electorate likely isn't representative of the whole country, it could still provide insight for Labor versus One Nation battles, of which outlets such as 6 News have identified at least 7 seats, where said data could be applied. But out of all of this, One Nation's popularity hasn't come out of the blue, but has rather grown over time due to a couple of reasons. The first is, since the federal election, the decline of the coalition and a perceived increase in political instability has essentially created a vacuum in the political landscape, leaving many voters to ditch them and vote for alternatives. As outlined in the Demos poll, at least 1 in 3 coalition voters are parking their vote with One Nation, with One Nation being the most established of the alternative right parties, provides a natural choice for voters to choose from. The second point is essentially the party's dominance in the media, where from obtaining double-digit support has enjoyed relatively frequent and somewhat soft media coverage, with substantial opportunities to be present in the public. Prior to the election, the party was largely overshadowed by the coalition, but this dynamic has appeared to flip, which has seen the party appear to equate or surpass the coalition in media presence. In addition, the party's attention and development of a stronger digital strategy has seen its online presence explode, gaining 20,000 Instagram followers in the past 30 days alone, a trend that can be observed across other platforms. Third, there is likely an increase in financial support driven by mainstream capture. While direct Australian data on donor movements is limited, comparable trends are visible in similar political systems, particularly the UK. There, the Conservative Party has seen donor returns collapse in line with declining polling, prompting major donors to withdraw support, redirecting funding to Reform UK, or exiting politics altogether. A similar dynamic appears increasingly plausible in Australia, with One Nation gaining sustained momentum and the coalition polling weak for extended periods. Financial interests may be reassessing where money delivers influence. Between the two, One Nation has demonstrated clear upwards traction, with reported support increasing by approximately 210% since May the 3rd. One Nation now presents a comparatively attractive vehicle for donors seeking relevance, leverage, or a place to park political capital. In addition, Pauline Hanson has also been spotted with Gina Reinhardt and other wealthy business people in the past year, which has prompted questions about how much money and interest is actually behind the party right now. But regardless, the political impact of all this sees an extreme amount of pressure on the coalition as the party draws from their voter and donor base. The coalition faces the task of developing stronger immigration and crime policies, but this appears to be increasingly challenging. More significantly, One Nation is now widely regarded as a mainstream political contender. This alters what is considered acceptable or palatable in Australian political discourse, and effectively puts to rest the long held claim that populist politics does not work in Australia. When taken together, One Nation and the Greens now represent more than one third of the electorate. At that point, it becomes increasingly difficult to argue that populism, whether left or right wing, is a fringe phenomenon or an electoral dead end. Instead, it suggests that a substantial portion of Australians are actively rejecting traditional major party politics in favour for parties offering clearer ideological identity, sharper rhetoric, and a stronger sense of opposition to the political establishment. Compare this to last election where both parties scored 19%. It's now a reality that the major parties are going to have to deal with. The other substantial impact is that it's splintering the right wing vote, making the ambition of forming government much harder for the conservative side of politics. With the coalition already tackling infighting, future prospects of forming government may require the support of One Nation, which the coalition and its partners have said that they've refused to do. But the reality of the situation suggests that they will have to work with them, as they can't form government without them. However, despite One Nation's rise, it faces a long and challenging road ahead before the next election. The party, as of today, still remains heavily centralised, with Pauline Hanson wielding significant influence over the party. This is where the party differs significantly from all the others, where its leader effectively has all the power to determine party direction and messaging. This means it leaves less room for internal renewal and potentially compromises democratic processes higher up. This also means that much of the party brand surrounds Pauline, which could see party support fall when her own support dips. While tokenistic democracy is common among many political parties, the current structure may exacerbate the issue, where the general membership feels like its voices and concerns are not being heard by party management. The party is also experiencing so called growing pains, similar to that of Reform UK, which has seen its fair share of poorly vetted candidates, resurfacing of controversies, and a lack of political experience. This has raised some concerns by some analysts that this might degrade the quality of governance and undermine political stability. However, Reform and to an extent One Nation have countered this by saying new people provide new perspectives, providing a point of difference and to drive change. In addition, the party's rapid expansion puts at risk the organisation's integrity, which could lead to thin branch structures, limited policies, and a lack of discipline to hold both the parliamentary party and general membership together. One Nation also faces structural barriers and hurdles, such as an electoral ceiling, where most of its votes come from rural and regional communities. With over 80 to 90% of the country now living in urban environments, makes it significantly challenging for One Nation to break beyond 20 seats, unless it can appeal to more urban voters. A further tension lies at the heart of the party's appeal. While One Nation markets itself as a force to confront instability and crisis, much of its electoral support emerges during periods when conditions are deteriorating and the public's confidence is low. This creates a structural political conflict. The party is rewarded for identifying failures, but governing solutions that stabilise conditions can dilute its support. In practice, this resembles a de facto fiduciary responsibility, where the party is incentivized to remain aligned with the conditions that generate its support. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed our explainer on One Nation's rise, be sure to subscribe and to check out our other content, especially those videos relevant to this topic. I'd also like to thank our TDMG Press Club members on the screen here, who are, as always, key to ensuring we're able to provide quality content. If you're interested in being part of a fast-growing community, or if you just want to help out, be sure to join our Press Club, where you can gain access to unique benefits. Lastly, I'd like to thank the rest of our team behind this video. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. Once again, I'm Heath. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next